Hi guys, this is Mr. Tan, and today we're looking at business research, and we're going to be looking at the research proposal today. So we're looking at the research and writing the research proposal, and we're going to be looking at choosing a project title, developing research questions, and writing the research proposal. So by the end of this session you should be able to develop a project title, develop research questions, and to write a proposal. So it's an individual activity here, and the question is, you've got 10 minutes to decide what is a research proposal. So come to this class and before and having this kind of like in your back of your mind. So what is a research proposal? The research proposal is the key gateway document to your dissertation. It sets out the main details of how your research will be conducted. At many universities, dissertation cannot be progressed until a supervisor has been allocated and a research proposal agreed between the student and supervisor. It is also a key document in formulating and crystallizing your topic ideas into a doable dissertation. The research proposal, the purpose in terms of organizing and developing your topic ideas, testing the scope of the research, identifying an appropriate supervisor, convincing other people of the merit of your idea, initiating the research process, obtaining support and early access rights, and being a basis on which to develop your research. So if we look at the contents of the research proposal, these will include the title, the background to the research problem or hypothesis, the aims and objectives of the research, the literature review, the methodology, ethical issues, access issues, timescale, Gantt charts, and then your references. So developing the project title. Again, this area alone, we looked at before the previous sections in terms of generating ideas. So thinking about your project title alone and then seeing if there is enough literature review and information out there to conduct it is another issue that you need to take into consideration. So if you haven't finalized your project title yet, arrange a one-to-one to discuss these possible topics. We need to discuss the topics that you've got, and again, this is something you should be thinking about. So writing the project proposal. Now, your proposal describes your proposed plan of work. What you intend to study, the scope and research questions, how you intend to study your topic, the methodology, what this topic needs to be studied, why, the significance of this, when you will complete the work as regards to a timeline, and occasionally, where you will conduct this work. So choosing a project. Choosing a project means establishing a good rationale for the project. Be sure there is enough time for reviewing the literature, gathering and ethical approval. If the project involves downloading secondary data from websites such as the Home Office or National Statistics or FAME, these are planned. Proposal writing. Establish a writing schedule. Begin free writing. Keep a small notebook with you and write down all relevant thoughts. Have this on your mind all the time until you get this proposal. You can't really start ahead with the rest of the project. Compose different parts of different computer files or in different index cards. And start with more of a clear-cut sections first. The abstract, provide a brief 100 to 350 word, overview of the proposal. Summarize important elements like the introduction, methods and procedures, anticipated, findings and implication. And the abstract itself is one of the sections you write after completing the proposal project. So abstract example. So here's a title comparison of computing theoretical models for understanding acceptance behavior of information systems in upscale hotels. So purpose. This study investigated which intended based model, namely 1, the technology acceptance model, TAM model 1, 2, the theory planned behavior, TBB model 2, and 3, the decomposed TPB model 3. It's best for predicting and explaining employees' behavioral intention to use hotel information systems. Method. Data were obtained from employees of 13 upscale hotels in various places, and structural equation modeling was employed to examine and compare how 3 competing theoretical models in terms of the overall model fit, explanatory power and paths of significance. Findings. The findings of the study revealed that if the key objective is to predict behavior intention to use HIS and TAM, is preferable. However, if the key objective is to explain behavior intention, then to use HIS and DTBP is preferable. So introduction, the aims and purpose of the project. This is usually one paragraph telling the reader everything that they need to know about this research proposal. This provides the opportunity to gain the reviewer's interest and excitement about this proposal, justify the plan, or contact for a research project. Show how your project contributes to the existing research. It should contain the background on why this research is important and interesting. It should state the innovation of this proposal. And finally, it should, in a clear statement, demonstrate why this project is significant and what impact it will have. So the aims and purpose of this project. The aim of a statement is a common way to express the research problem. It is, to give an example, normally in the form of, an example, the broad aim. The aim of the research is to investigate absence at Coventry University, or LSST. The aim could now become a qualitative, case investigation of absence at Coventry University College using Steers and Rhodes' 1978 notion of the ability to attend. See how the broad aim, and then the aim is then redone to make it more specific. Background information. Establish the general territory, real world of research. Describe the broad foundations of your study. Provide sufficient background for readers. Indicate the general scope of your project, and engage the readers. The statement of the problem. Well, answer the question. What is the gap that needs to be filled, and or what is the problem that needs to be solved. State the problem clearly, early in a paragraph. Limit the variable so you address, in your stating your problem or question. Consider, framing the problem as a question. Statement, or problem example, despite the growing interest in women representation of the board organizations, there are still limited or no study that has seriously examined the remarkable impact of women on the board and organizational performance. Sheehan 1996 and Morton 2002 indicate that women, representation of the UK FTSE 100 is discouraging, and so on. Developing research questions. Are the research questions feasible? The time. Have you got the time? What about the sample size? Are you going to be able to do it within the sample size that you need? Is it going to be big enough to be representative of the total population? What about the technical expertise? Do you have the technical expertise? Are the questions novel, interesting, useful? Will the answers open up new areas of research? Is the scope of the study well focused? Collecting too much data wastes time and money. Is it ethical to ask these research questions? Unacceptable physical risks or invasion of privacy? Developing the research question, title, gender pay difference at the board level. Why gender has, expertise and research experience in gender studies. Interesting. Why, board level. Little is known about the, board level. Questions, research questions. So the research question guides and centers your research. It really does. Everything leads on from the question. How the literature review in relation to the question, what you're trying to prove and disprove, your objectives, and more importantly, your research questions as well, and how you carry out. If it's qualitative or quantitative, it all leads from your research question. Everything centers from this. It should be clear and focused, as well as synthesize multiple sources to present your unique argument. Be careful, to avoid the all about paper and questions that can be answered in a few factual statements. So, still looking at the research question, if it's too broad, it's not good, because if it's too broad, it may be very difficult to prove, and may take too much time. And how do you know if you've actually achieved it if it's too broad? Why are social networking sites harmful? Revised question could be how are online users experiencing or addressing privacy issues on such social networking sites as Facebook and Twitter. Do you see how more specific this is? Research questions, a good research question, what are some of the factors that influenced the 2008 economic downturn? RQ1, what are the current attendance levels at Coventry University? Another question, what is the pattern of absence for individual employees? Using the Bradford factor to measure this absence. What aspects of the work design is affecting absence at Coventry University? What are the employee issues around, ability to attend? What aspects are reported that lie outside the Stairs and Rhodes 1978 absence model? So a checklist of potential research questions. Is the research question, something I and others may care about? Is it arguable? Is a research question a new spin or a new idea, or does it solve a problem? Is it too broad, or is it too narrow? Is the research question researchable within the given time frame and location? What information is needed? So now we look at the research objectives. Once the aim of the research has been clearly stated, the next section in the proposal deals with the detail of how the aim is to be achieved. The objectives are normally expressed as a set of closely specified statements that would enable the aim to be achieved. Again, continuing with the research objectives, are the steps you're going to take, to answer the research question, or a specific list of tasks needed to accomplish the goals of the project. Emphasize, how aims are to be accomplished. Must be highly focused and feasible. Address research objectives, include to describe the factors SMEs take into account in making decisions as whether to adopt a new technology. Another objective, to develop a budget for reducing pollution by a particular enterprise. to describe the habit of the giant panda in China. Research objectives. Research objective 1: critically review the literature and development, of one guiding theory. Develop and pilot the methodology consistent with the theoretical framework adopted in objective 1. Clarify and define the population for the study and select the sample. Distribute the questionnaires and follow up with a telephone inquiry for maximized response. Analyze the data and present the findings. Make recommendations to improve management practice. Background information and scope of the project. Give the reviewer the needed information to understand the objectives and approaches in this proposal. Structure the background to go from broad information such as benefits of adopting social media in marketing to specific information such as using YouTube, Facebook to increase presence online to increase sales. Build up, the background towards answering a specific question that is unknown. There should be a section within the background to discuss preliminary data and connect preliminary data to background. Rationale and hypothesis or the proposition. Clearly state the proposition or hypothesis that will be addressed in the proposal. Give a rationale why this proposal or hypothesis is important to be investigated. Significance and impact. It's the last chance to impress the reviewer, on the importance of what you are proposing. Give a sense of future directions for this research. Why is the proposal innovative? Impact on the field and or the area being studied should be stated. And in writing the literature review, situates the current study within a wider disciplinary, conversation. Illustrates the uniqueness, importance of the need for your particular project. Justifies methodological choices. Demonstrates familiarity with the topic and appropriate approaches to studying it. Effective literature review should, flesh out the background of your study. Critically assess important research trends or areas of interest. Identify, potential gaps in knowledge. Establish a need for current and or future research projects. So a literature review example, here we can see one here. Other studies also support the conclusion that traditional teaching methods hinder learning. Calculus, Selden and Mason 1994 conclude that isolated trivial problems, the norm in many classrooms, inhibit students from acquiring the ability to generalize calculus problem-solving skills. Selden and Mason 1994. Similar results are reported by Norman and Pitchard 1994. They demonstrate that many learners cannot interpret the structure of a problem beyond surface level symbols. They show the novices, have inaccurate, intuitions about problems, which tend to lead them to attempt incorrect solutions strategies. Norman and Pitchard 1994. Because they cannot see beyond the high-level features, they cannot develop correct, intuitions. On the other hand, successful problem-solving category math problems based on underlying structural similarities and fundamental principles, Silver 1979, these categories are often grouped based upon solution modes, which the experts use to generalize a forward-working strategy. Methodology. Introduce the overall methodological approach. Indicate how the approach fits the overall research design. Describe the specific method of data collection. Explain how you intend to analyze and interpret your results, like statistical analysis, theoretical framework. If necessary, provide background and rationale for unfamiliar methodologies and address potential limitations. Timeline, plan of your work. Use a Gantt chart. Be aware of the important dates for submitting, defending dissertations. Do not be overly ambitious. remember that your proposed timeline demonstrates your awareness of the various elements of the study. There is a research proposal video here from YouTube. So thank you today from Mr. Tan.